Guys, put some video on here. Oh, hi.
Yeah, we can go ahead and begin.
I can text Susan and ask her if she's coming too. Let me just shoot her a quick text. Okay, let's go ahead and start then, I guess. Is that right, Dustin?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay, so I'm going to begin this December 15th, 2021 Landmarks Commission meeting by reading a chair statement regarding the Open and Public Meetings Act. Due to Utah County's high level of coronavirus cases as determined by the state's COVID-19 transmission index, I have determined that conducting meetings with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. Therefore, for the next 30 days, all meetings of the Landmarks Commission will be conducted via electronic means. Hence, many of us are on Zoom. So why don't we just, I'm Matt Christensen, I'm chair. If we just do a roll call of those present, and then we'll jump into the agenda items.
Jeff Ringer.
So we got Jeff Ringer.
Jesse Embry.
Jesse Embry. Jace is here. She's on mute.
I'm here. I'm here.
And then, of course, we have Dustin, our staffer. Let's go ahead and start with the agenda item. I'm just pulling it up on my screen. Paul 2 is requesting a Landmarks Certificate of Appropriateness for additions to the property at 91 West, 200 South in the general downtown zone, downtown neighborhood. Members of the commission, we received a staff report for this via email, I think last week or the week before. Dustin, will you walk us through the request? Do you know if the applicant is joining us today?
I'm not aware of that. I don't see them in here yet, but we'll have Nod let us know if they are.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll go ahead and just kind of go through it a little bit for everybody. So the property is located here on the corner, 91 West, 200 South, across the street from the post office and the City Center Temple. So it's the historic Alexander House is on our landmarks register here in Provo. And here's a more updated image there. And here's what the applicant's requesting. So these gray marks here on the site plan show where they'd like to place some additional structures on this property. Their request isn't to change anything with the historic structure. It's just to add additional structures onto the site. So you can see that there's three. The two smaller ones are just showing options for where a cafe, like a walk-up cafe would be. But it would just be one of the two. And then the larger mass here would be for like a therapy bungalow is what they're calling it. But they'd like to put that there on the property as well to help serve the site. And so the Landmarks Commission will be looking at, does this proposed request alter or impair the historic integrity of the landmark here, or would it be appropriate for what they're requesting? Once that's decided from Landmarks Commission, the request will go on as a project plan application for the Planning Commission to look at parking and all of that. So here's some kind of renderings of what they've proposed for that building in the corner. They're calling Therapy Bungalow. And here's what the walk-up cafe would look like. So what they've tried to do was, have them be small and not detract from the main structure, but to also be compatible with that. So you can see some elements there, but not necessarily copying it, but just trying to match. So again, here's where they're looking. So just be, again, either option 1 or option 2 for the cafe, and then the Therapy Bungalow. Here's what it would look like inside. So yeah, so if there's anything I can go over, I'd be happy to do that. But staff has looked at this and looked at the criteria in our code pertaining to this, and feels that it would be able to meet those standards of rehabilitation. So 9 and 10 I've included in the findings of fact, as this would be additions on the site, not necessarily additions onto the existing structure. But staff finds that it would be able to comply. And I've outlined a few staff recommendations or conditions that if it were approved, they could be on there just to help clarify and show that. So I've got 3 of those. I'll just read them. The existing structure is to be protected and not altered on the exterior as part of the new development on the site. The structures on the site shall be limited to 2 as shown on the concept plan, and would be subject to receiving project plan approval from the Planning Commission. And all parking spaces shall be placed in the rear yard or interior side yards to help maintain the historic character of a single family structure. So those are the conditions that staff recommends if the certificate of appropriateness is approved. And I'd be happy to take any questions, and I can see that the applicant has also joined us as well.
Landmark, welcome, Mr. Tu. Landmark commissioners, do any of you have any questions or comments for Dustin?
No.
My question is, how high is the therapy building?
The therapy building, I believe, is with the attic under 18 feet. So it's a 10-foot interior space. And then with the trussing and everything, it would be lower than that with the footing and foundation and a little bit of a 1-step up. We're trying to make it as low profile as possible and still be ADA compliant and accessible across the board. So I believe it might be 17 something, but it's under 18 feet.
And it wouldn't tower over the existing building?
No, it's about 12 feet lower than the existing building.
Why are there the 2 options for the cafe?
Based on what we're going to be needing for the parking, because the priority here is the therapy bungalow. We don't have enough space to offer the counseling services in the home currently. And we didn't want to add to, or, there's options where we could add to the back, which is to the south of the image we're looking at right there. So the therapy bungalow is the priority. We're calling it the therapy bungalow just because it's really going to house those 3 counseling rooms. And then if you see the plan, I think I'm not driving, I apologize, but there's a waiting room, an ADA restroom, and then 3 accessible counseling rooms. We need that space more than the cafe. We put the 2 cafe options in there. The goal for the cafe is to provide an opportunity for kids that may be difficult to employ in other venues based on gender identity and a variety of factors, and then teach them some vocational skills. It's not meant to be a super profit center for Encircle in any way, but really to be a training and an opportunity, and also a way to socialize and some of the kids that are, again, not as comfortable in their own skin as a lot of us, and provide that opportunity for them. So those are flexible. And those were based on Provo City's recommendation for parking and the requirements to not have too much parking in the front. So we looked at both of those options. We will probably, if the cafe option 2 is approved by the building and code and everything with the parking, we'll probably flip the orientation of the therapy bungalow in order to use a common restroom for the employees of the the baristas or whomever serving, and to be able to use that, again, based on code, the ability to get to that common bathroom. We're going to be trenching and again, saw the recommendations from some of the other comments on the email. We'll be trenching all of the plumbing and hopefully even burying the telephone and power lines, which are in the lower right-hand corner of this image currently.
Would option 1 be visible from Second South?
It would, yes.
It just seems that's a street used a lot because of the buildings that are across the street, and it might take away from the historical value of the house.
We recognize that. If I were to put a personal preference, the cafe option 2 is where I do it for a few reasons. One is likely the parking requirements. We don't anticipate the assembly code with required parking and how many people gather in the structure to require a ton more parking, but it will probably be 2 more spaces than are currently there. And we'd like to utilize probably where cafe option 1 is. The reason we placed it there is because of the code that Provo, that from my understanding, again, limited to put as much parking in the rear as possible and to not to cloud or crowd the front of the property. And that's not necessarily a historical designation, but a kind of a city code recommendation. So we're flexible, but my personal preference would be down to in the back.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Tu, you mentioned that if you guys go with cafe option 2, that you're going to flip the orientation of the therapy bungalow.
Perhaps.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, perhaps we have that option. Again, we want to do as much as we can to be within compliance with the, so we don't run into issues. But if you'll notice the floor plan, whoever's driving, I think Dustin, if that's you.
One more up, I think keep going, Dustin.
I don't know if I don't have the floor plan in the bungalow.
Okay. What it allows, what essentially it is it's currently in the, if you were to look at it in that concept plan of the overall aerial map, it's in the lower right corner of but not the very, kind of where those 3 windows are adjacent to the parking lot with that red car. We might just give it more access because what we're trying to do is minimize people traveling and also increase privacy for those who are, sensitive and seeking some discretion for their therapy. So where that cursor is, if you just raise it up, right, up, just a little bit, that's where the current restroom is. So we just flip it so that you'd have access.
Oh, I see.
Page 6 in your staff report has that floor plan. If you want.
So you would just flip the waiting room. I'm looking at the floor plan of my report. So you would just flip the waiting room and the restroom, and
yep.
That's out of our purview. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's what we would probably do if we found that we needed for code for the employees of the cafe. Okay. In option 2. We also have an accessible restroom inside the home that has current ADA access and a ramp. So we'd want to make sure that we have provided that option. If we don't need to flip it, we'll keep it as is, but we want to make sure that we're well within all parameters, both for just common use and also for Provo code.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Not really a question, just an endorsement. I think this is a great adaptive reuse of a historic property, and I don't see anything in the proposal that would harm the historical structure we're trying to protect. So I have no concerns.
Thank you very much.
I agree with that. You've done such an amazing job over there, and so highly commendable.
Well, if I'm being very transparent, we are looking to keep this as the crown jewel in Provo, but you're going to have some competition with the Heber House. So we look forward to being able to, because Provo has taught us a lot, and frankly, your endorsement and the support that we've received from the city has been great, and we're looking for that same support in a historical building on Center Street and Main Street in Heber, if you're aware of that space.
Excellent. What, does anybody else have any questions for the applicant or for Dustin?
No.
Do we have any public comments, Dustin, do you know?
We can open it up and give it a few. There's usually a little bit of a lag on those viewing online, so
Sure.
just open it and give it a minute or so.
Sorry, no public comments. 15 seconds.
Sounds like we don't have any comments from the public. Unless there's a Richard Bingham in the room. I don't know. Richard, are you here for this portion or for a different agenda item?
I'm here with Encircle as well.
Okay. Did you have anything to add?
I did not. Thank you.
Okay. I'd be willing to entertain any motions unless there's further comment or discussion that the commissioners would like to make.
I just have
No
a
further-
comment. I think there's some storage buildings back where you're putting these anyway right now.
Yes, there are currently 2 storage sheds in the very back of the property. And they are sitting on the line and will be compliant with the new. Obviously, we're building in some storage within the closets of the bungalow, so those will be taken offline. Unfortunately, they're not very sightly anyway.
But they're not noticeable really as I walk around the property, so.
Jeff, it seems as if you're about to make a motion. Just, I would recommend, and maybe you're already doing this, looking at the staff recommendations on page 3 of the report.
I am. I'm looking at I'm looking at the recommendations as listed on page 1 in summary. And I would move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness for the addition to the property at 91 West, 200 South in the general downtown zone, and adding the 3 conditions that the staff lists in the report, which are the existing structure is protected, not altered. New structures on the site shall be limited to 2 as shown in the concept plan, and 3 all parking spaces shall be placed in the rear yard or interior side yard. So with those 3 conditions, I move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness.
Any second?
I second that.
All right, Jeff made the motion. Jason seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Tu.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Keep up the great
Thank
work.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we'll now move on to the second item. On my report, there's an asterisk next to that. Dustin, does that indicate that we
Yeah.
might not be doing it, or?
No, the excuse me, the asterisk is just indicating that this is a item that will go onto the city council for.
Oh, okay. Very
decisions.
good.
The Landmarks Commission is making a recommendation on item number 2.
I see. Okay. So item number 2, Cindy L Caldwell requests Landmarks nomination. Hooray for a home at 1115 East, 640 South in the R1.8 one family residential zone in the Provo neighborhood. Dustin, do you want to speak to this item? And do you know if the applicant's joining us today, or? Oh, looks like she's on her way up to the room.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just orient us here. So here's where the property is located, and 1115 East, 640 South. Yeah, come on. Here's an image of the property that is being nominated. Just kind of go through some of these, and so this is from the street view, looking at the south facade of the structure. Here's the back of the home.
Are you Dustin?
And here are the views of the west and east facades of the structure.
Nice looking home.
And here are some older images of the property or the surroundings on the property. And just some more details within the home of when it was constructed and some of the doors there the applicants provided. So staff has reviewed the nomination request and compared it with our code requirements for nominating properties. Staff has found that it would be able to comply with the criteria for designating a property on our landmarks register. So in staff report, I've included my analysis and findings there. And so if there's any specifics you'd like to go over, we can do that. The applicant has also just joined us here. And so I'm sure she would have answers to questions as well that you might have. But staff is recommending that the Landmarks Commission forward a positive recommendation to the Municipal Council to approve this home to be placed on the Landmarks Register. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or direct them to the applicant as well.
Thank you, Dustin. And welcome. Is that Mrs. Caldwell? I'm not sure who's joined us.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from or questions for Dustin or the applicant from members?
Just a
of the
quick,
commission?
I've got a quick question to clarify here. In the staff report, clearly when we see views of the house, not all of it was built in 1885. It says there were additions done in the 1920s and the 1940s. Have there been any additions post 1940s, or is that what we're looking at here?
We just remodeled the additions. The 1920s addition was just a 2x4 frame lean-to on the back of the house with no footings. So what you see here on the left, the east side, we tore the lean-to down, put in actual footings, and expanded it a couple feet so we had room to actually pour the footings. And so it's now more sound and safe.
And the other 1940?
That's the room right there in the center. It's a cinder block addition, and that's now the master bedroom.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
Just an item of curiosity for the owner. The home looks to be in spectacular shape. Was it in this shape when you purchased the property, or is this a result of a lot of your hard work?
It's our hard work, yeah. So the photos on the left are from 1985 when we purchased the house.
Wow.
So it was had been vacant for 6 months. And we purchased it from a family member. So it'd been in the family from 1918 until we purchased it in 1985. But it had been neglected, obviously. But the inside was safe, livable. So that's why we decided to go for it.
Great. Well, it looks like you've done a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Just curiosity, what was your interest in having it on the Landmarks Commission? Landmarks.
I think encouragement from neighbors and former, like the previous family that owned it, they really would appreciate it. And I think it would be an honor to be on the Landmarks Registry, and it would be an honor a way to honor Julia and Charles Wright, who owned the home for so long.
Are there other houses that are that age in that neighborhood?
No longer. There is a house, actually it's 20 years older than ours, just kitty corner through on Utah Avenue. And it was the home of Daniel Graves, and it was built in 1865. The records now own that home, and they're interested in doing the similar research, but they've got a young family, and so it's a little more time consuming for them. So
Other priorities.
yes, exactly. I think I started doing research probably in 2015 and 2016 because I loved going through the historic home tours in Provo.
Oh, good.
And then, other things took priority. And then with the pandemic, I thought, well, I've got all this time now. I really dug into it and got it done. And thanks to some direction from Dustin. So.
I have a couple questions. I'm at this image that we're looking at here with a photo of the front of the home.
Yes.
On the bottom left, underneath that window, there's like a wood. What is that? Like a storm cellar entrance?
Yes. In fact, I was shoveling the snow off the door this morning, and it's a cellar. It's where our furnace is located and some storage room. My grandchildren call it the dungeon.
I bet they do.
So.
Oh, cool. And then the other question is, at least in my report, I don't know if I saw it in the presentation, but there looks like there's a door that you have rehabilitated that used to be on the exterior, but now you put on the interior.
Exactly. That was the front door, quote, front door, when it was
here it is, yeah,
faced west, and there was a porch there. But as the land was developed around it, the main street became 640 South, and so the front of the house is now oriented to the south, where there's a porch as well.
It's a pretty door.
Yes. And it was covered with another door that was nailed shut when we first bought the house. I could see that there was some carving on the door from the inside, because the door they nailed on the outside also had a window. And so we finally removed it when we were able to renovate the outside of the house. It was this beautiful door that I stripped and had a company make the window for it.
That's nice. It's very
Thank you.
nice. Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners?
No, just comment. It's gorgeous. You did such a beautiful job.
Thank you. Thank you.
And not many people were that much interested in being put on landmarks, so we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
And encouraging your neighbors with the young children.
Yes. We talk regularly.
I was curious if you're planning to put on the National Register.
Well, now that I've done all this work, is it much more?
I think with the work you've done is
sufficient.
Quite a bit to at least, I think get you there with.
That would be great. That would be great.
You would need to check with the State Historical Society.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd
Okay.
submit your research to them and they can help you through that
All
process.
right.
But I was just curious if that was.
Thank you.
And maybe we should open, does the applicant have anything they would like to add?
I think if you had an opportunity to just read our project description, I think that was pretty. It's been a labor of love, both renovating the house and doing the research. I grew up in the neighborhood actually, and so I went to elementary school at Provost. And when my family moved in on 580, it was the last street, and they had a barbed wire fence in our backyard. And I remember the cows. He still had a few cows. Charles still had some cows that wandered up behind our house. But then it was soon developed within a year or two after that. But the neighborhood kids always called him Grandpa Wright. He'd been there until, he died in 71. And my family moved in at 63. So not only did we end up buying a house and raising our children there, but I grew up in the same neighborhood and knew the Wright family. And so when we purchased the home, we purchased it on contract from the son-in-law of the Wrights. And they were delighted that they knew me and my husband and that we weren't going to tear it down, because there were rumors that people would tear it down just to finish Idaho Avenue, which dead ends in our backyard and continues in front of our house. And so it's almost like not only has the house been in the Wright family, but it's kind of been in my family too.
That's neat. Where is this plaster with Collier Mason? Where is that located?
That's actually on the chimney in the west wing.
Okay.
So
On the inside of the house then?
Yes, up in the attic.
Cool.
You can't see the whole, it's kind of cut off on the left side, but it's Joab Collier, Mason, and then it says NOV 27th, 1885.
That's neat. Yeah, I was wondering with the B Collier. I thought, well, it's not Benjamin because that's the owner. So
Yeah, it's JOAB.
So yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thanks for clarifying that. Well, this is great. This is exciting that we have somebody who is desirous to have to join the few and the proud that have their homes on register. I've got my home on a register and the registry, and anyway, it's a neat thing to have. Why don't we open it up to comments from the public? We'll give it a few moments to see if anyone chimes in, and then after that, if there's any last concluding questions or thoughts, and then we'll entertain a motion. So with that, let's open it to public comments.
No public comments at the moment, 30 seconds.
My neighbor, if I could make a comment from my neighbor last night, she stopped by and she just asked if this would have any impact on her home or the neighboring homes. Like, is she going to be restricted to what she does in her yard? Like, can she cut down a tree if she wanted to or whatever? And I didn't think it would have any impact.
It's a good question, but no impact.
Okay, thank you.
Are all the, while we're still waiting for any public comments, are all the other homes in the neighborhood, what are they, mid-century or?
They're mostly from the 70s.
Okay.
Like I said, there's the one on Utah Avenue that's just kitty corner through us.
Right, a little bit older.
Yeah, about 20 years older than mine. The Pioneer Cemetery, is just across the street.
Right.
Public comments.
Okay, thank you. Any final comments or questions from the commissioners? Be willing to entertain a motion? I can tell Jeff wants to, but he just made the other one, so he's not sure if he should.
He should.
I move that we forward a positive recommendation that the Landmarks nomination for a home at 1115 East 640 South in the R18 Family Residential Zone be approved by the Planning Commission.
Landmarks
City Council, sorry. Approved by the City Council, apologies.
I second that motion.
All right. Motion made by Jeff and seconded by Jasa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Negative, say nay.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations to the Caldwells.
Thank you. This is exciting.
Thank
So the
you.
next step, Dustin, when will this go before the City Council? Do you know?
Yeah, it'll be their first meeting in January, and then
I would be out of town.
Yeah, so I was gonna get with the applicant. She's gonna be out of town.
Okay.
Forward that way.
Great. Well, good luck, and I'm sure it'll go great.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Item number 3, the Provo Congregational Church National Register nomination review. Dustin, would you like to take us through this?
Yeah, so you should have received that document. I can pull it up if there's anything you guys went through that you want to go over. But basically, the State Historic Preservation Office is asking us to review the nomination that's come forward for that church and to put it on the National Register. So they asked the local commissions to review that and to fill out that form. So if there's anything that you guys had concerns with, we can note those and I can forward that on to the State Historic Preservation Office.
Is this typical that they always do this?
Yeah, they've got this form, so they send that out, and
We just haven't had anything going on
haven't
Landmarks.
had one for a while, so.
Dustin, is there anything that you're concerned about as you look at this form?
The only thing I saw, there were some pages that the images of the maps that were, I guess, put in backwards. So I was going to just note those.
Okay.
So I've got a note to list that as something, just to have a typo to correct, but the document itself looks good. Looks like there's substantial research done, and I think it would be good property to have on the National Register. So
I like
So
the two artist renderings on page 68, at least in the PDF. I guess it's page 66 on the actual document itself, but those two artist renderings are kind of cool. And of course, all those old photographs too are really fun. Anyway, so Dustin, what's our role here? Just to express any concerns or encouragements, or what do we need to do?
yeah, so we have the evaluation sheet that should have been included in the memo I sent you. So it just has, so it says integrity, or there major alterations, anything that you would note there. Again, I've gone through it. I don't see any concerns other than those maps
Being flipped.
needing to be fixed is all I've seen. So
Yeah.
The auditorium at the back is relatively new.
possibly, I'm not sure.
I've been in the auditorium, it's a completely different
Like on
kind
the
of,
inside of it.
well, even on the outside, it's a
outside.
completely different building.
Okay.
If that's the state, did the state have any kind of problem with that? I mean, it's hardly noticeable from the main streets.
Yeah.
It is past the parking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought this was fascinating to look through. I'd never seen a picture of the original north entrance to the building prior to
Yeah.
the addition.
Me neither. Does anybody have any concerns they want to bring up with Dustin, other than the maps being reversed somehow in the Photoshop or something? For like upside down and backwards or something?
No, but I'm interested, Dustin, in who's pushing this from the church side. Is there a committee or an individual that's been pushing this?
Yeah, so their representative has, I've actually gone on a tour of it. They invited the state historic architect and Preservation Utah and some others, and we kind of went and did a tour of it maybe about a year ago now. And so they've been looking for ways to try to fix, the roof has some issues, and there's just a lot of things that need some attention to be able to maintain it before substantial damage or more damage takes place, I guess, to leaking roofs and things like that. So they've been looking for a way to be able to preserve the building and find some funds to be able to do that maintenance. And so I think this might be one of the avenues that they're looking into to help maybe generate some funds for it to be able to handle that, preserve the building.
Thanks, that's helpful.
That's the sense that I've gotten from what I just read in the newspapers.
Yeah.
The interior is not our priority, not what we deal with, but the restrooms are a mess.
Right. Well, I think it's a great thing that they want to do this. And a year or two ago, whenever it was that this first got brought up, I was pleased that they're taking these steps. We don't want another St. Francis on our hands.
Please, no.
Any other questions or comments from anybody?
No, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be supportive of this.
Likewise. Do we need to make any formal motions, Dustin?
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess you could make a motion that we forward a positive recommendation on, and I'll fill out the sheet and send it back to the State Historic Preservation Office.
So would anyone like to make a formal motion that Dustin do all the work? Because that's basically what he just said. Jump in there, Jeff.
Then I move that we forward a positive recommendation for the inclusion of the Provo Community Congregational Church on the National Historic Register.
Anyone second?
Second,
Perfect. So Jeff moved and Jesse, I think it was you that seconded it. All in
Yeah.
favor, say aye. Say
Aye.
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 Aye. Negative, nay? Was it Jesse or Jason that seconded it?
I seconded it.
Jesse, okay, just making sure we have that for the record. All right, it passes unanimously with our congratulations and positive recommendations. That's terrific.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to discuss before we conclude?
Is this group where the federal buildings come up for sale? Yeah, so Bill just reminded me, so the federal building is one that they're looking at putting up for sale.
Oh,
We've met with them, kind of walked through it, and yeah.
Who is the they? The U.S. government or?
Yes, this government is the federal building at 100 North and 100 West.
right, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful building and they want to dispose of it?
They do, and they want to sell it with the deed restriction that it has to be kept, both the exterior and the foyer.
I love that.
Oh, that's great news.
That's good.
I love that kind of government, federal government bureaucracy.
It would make pretty cool lofts. It'd be expensive to change it to that, but with the price of housing, you could probably make it work.
Yeah, is that what was that the thought is they become condominiums or apartments?
It could do that. The zone they're in, it could be office space, could be residential, could be a mix.
Has the city ever received any interest from any parties in that building?
We haven't. We were going to reach out to the to the group that saved Mennonite Hall.
Yeah.
They'd be interested, but no one. I don't think anybody's aware of it yet.
Right. Well, it's a beautiful and important historical building for us.
Yeah, that's good to know. Do you know how soon they're wanting to move on that bill? Or
I got an email from them saying that I think it's going to happen pretty quick. I think public notice will go out here pretty soon.
okay,
Hey, before I jump off, which I have to do in just a minute for another meeting, but I'd love an update. You remember several months ago, we heard a proposal from, I'm not going to remember his name, but he owns several historic buildings on Center Street. And it was regarding a kind of addition to a historic building, including a rooftop kind of garden area. Is this ringing any bells with anybody?
Yeah. They've been working on the building. I walk by it all the time.
Right. Do we have any updates to that on that project?
Okay. Are you talking about the one that's next to where the
comedy thing is.
Yeah.
Next to the old DTR building, Dixon Taylor Russell building?
Yeah, so they're working on that one. We approved the third story step back on that, so that's under construction right now.
And one more question. Sorry to pepper you with questions, but the old Mary Kawakami School of Beauty building. What do we know about that?
where is that, Jeff?
Center Street, going west on Center Street on the north side of the street. I don't know how far down, city guys. What are we talking? Is it the
Between
300 block?
Northwest.
Yeah.
And what's your question about it?
My question is, it's a fascinating old building that seems to just be being used as a storage shed right now. It's kind of a blight on Center Street. I'm curious if anybody knows anything about the owner's intent.
She's very hard to work with, very
Yep.
anti-Provo, and very happy to just let it be storage space. We've approached her to try to do something. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see the city council adopt ordinance that would levy serious fines on people who are willing to have vacant buildings on Center Street.
Yeah.
Not so much fine in terms of increased taxes. A lot of cities do that. If you have empty buildings in their historic districts, they really increase your property taxes on it to discourage that.
And I go to the hairdresser that's in that space.
Right.
And that's basically the story that she's told me. I mean, she's not really, the owner is not really interested in doing anything with the property. It's kind of lucky the woman is able to rent that space, and she just, I mean, she doesn't care.
And is she interested in hearing and receiving any offers for that property?
Apparently, from what my beautician says, no.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I'm not sure it hurts to try. I mean, we've talked about going after her for a fire violation for all the junk she's got stored in there, but with her already being so hostile towards the city, we've been hesitant to pull that trigger.
Yeah. Well, I may know of a group that's interested, so I'll just talk to you offline and see what you think is the best way to go forward.
All right, very good.
Anybody else?
Do you know what's going to go into the bicycle store now that it's gone out?
We don't yet. There's a couple, I think there's a couple groups that economic development has suggested that too, has shown that property too. I think one is a restaurant, but we don't know anything definite.
That's a big loss. Any idea why they left?
They started renting some space in Orem. Well, it was supposed to be just an interim kind of thing. And they got to like that space so much, they decided to move the whole operation there. They did it pretty suddenly. We didn't have much forewarning that they were leaving at all, but we're really sad to see them go. That
really sad. Yeah.
As a bicyclist, I really liked having them right here in town.
Hey man, I bought my last bikes from there too. Yeah.
Right.
Dustin, there's one thing that I've got for you. The Knight Magnum building, we had a meeting a couple years ago where they were, making some changes, and we had some stipulations that we wanted them to do. As far as I can tell, I live around the corner. Every single one of those has been ignored. Could you maybe just drive by and follow up and contact the owners and see what their plans are? They were going to repaint. I remember that. And I remember they were going to put a little partition thing to hide the AC units. And that's yet to happen as well. And from what I understand, the owners told a neighbor a couple of years ago when they had an open house that they were just going to not do anything and didn't care what Landmarks said.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check on that.
And if that's the case, we ought to follow up with them and remind them that that was what the agreed terms were. Anyway, if that's it, we will conclude and wish everyone a happy Christmas and a Merry New Year.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Take care.